think networking works if you come there with the mindset, what can I do for you, rather than what can I get from you.
The one and only Vasily Alexenko, founder of Rare Founders and creator of the legendary London's largest demo day. He's uniting founders and investors through unforgettable events, meetups, and conferences, fueling the next wave of big ideas.
I'm trying to be honest with everyone. I'm not saying, not pretending to be, but I know that this helps because people do trust you.
Yeah.
And if people do trust you, they want to help you.
Hello everyone, we have a very special guest today, and I mean it. I reached out to him during summer, and I've been waiting for months for him to come and tell his story. I'm sure most of you know him already because he's quite known and very popular in a startup community of London. It's our Vasily. Thank you very much for coming, Vasily. Thank you. I mean, you've had like a crazy period until your demo day, and now thank you for taking time and coming to share your story. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Ajmal. Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
As I said, most of you quite probably know him, but I still would like to know a little more about yourself. Please.
Where do you want me to start?
You can tell your maybe journey from how did you end up in London, and you can. Is it too long?
I don't think we have enough. I don't think we have enough time.
Okay,
for this.
all right then this short version.
Okay,
Who version. You are, yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Vasily, and I'm the founder of Rare Founders. Rare Founders is a startup community for founders and investors, and I believe that we are the fastest growing community here in London and in the UK. And one of the main reasons why I decided to set this up about a year ago, because I'm a founder myself. I previously had a business in a corporate wellness space. And when I started fundraising, I very quickly realized that I didn't have any investor network, and realized that you kind of need to know people to actually get somewhere. And even though I've been in the UK for more than 15 years now, I kind of didn't necessarily spend my time wisely here in terms of actually building this network. So that's why I realized I actually didn't know many people. Started going to quite a few networking events, and once I was there, I just realized that it was not necessarily what I was looking for, because it's very difficult to meet with investors there. They don't really like to go to this kind of events. And at the same time, I just didn't have a very good experience. As a founder, there were not many opportunities in London back then when I started this to even practice your pitching skills. And I kind of one day went to this event that organizers didn't even show up. And I remember it was somewhere in the center of London in the pub, and it was packed with people, and everyone was just complaining how badly it was organized. But I remember I looked back and I realized, oh my God, so many people, so badly organized. I can definitely do it better. Nice. And I literally went to this pub the day after, and I told them that I wanted to host my own event in there. And the bar manager was too busy to ask me any questions. She just assumed I do this for a living. And literally 5-10 minutes, I had a date booked, and I promised to them that I would bring 250 people to this event. And this was when I just started being a little bit more active on LinkedIn. And somehow in 4 weeks, I had 500 people signing up and 250 come to the event. And that's pretty much how it all started. And I started doing this on the monthly basis, created something I think like different for London. Now we have quite a few copycats, which is bad for me, but good for the startup community, because now there are definitely quite a few opportunities and stages in London for founders to go and practice their pitching skills. And yes, now it's kind of like what I do full time. I decided to focus on the community side of the business, working with founders, investors, and you now witnessed what we do kind of like at the bigger scale. A few weeks ago, we hosted London's largest demo day, which was our second conference And again, considering, like, I'm super proud of myself and our team of what we did, because realistically speaking, we did this all within, like, business existed only, it has been 1 year in August officially, like a little bit longer in fact, but again, no budget, no resources, and we managed to bring this startup community together. Like, for example, we are hosting Christmas party in December for startups, and we are hosting this event together with a few other communities. We have Sit Legals on board, Hotbed, and a couple of other businesses who work with startups and investors. And I honestly feel like, like I'm the one that actually set up the whole trend, because when I was starting last year, no one was collaborating. Everyone was kind of like doing their own things. And it took me a while probably just to get trust from these people, because I personally had quite a few very bad experiences when it comes to partnerships, where people just trying to take advantage of what you already have and what you built. But at the same time, I did manage to come across quite a few people and businesses who were amazingly good. And now, again, we're just trying to do something together for the greater good for the entire community. And it's just very, very cool to see that, like, slowly things are changing, and we're part of it. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't think it's that slowly, because you took, it was just last year, you said, right?
Yep.
Yeah, last year in August. And now you have, this was your second demo day already. In a year, and it was really grandiose, as I said. I wasn't expecting the event being on that scale, because I did attend other open mics prior to that. I thought it was going to be a little bigger than that, but not in this scale. But it was an amazing job, really.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that I managed to surprise you.
Well, you've answered quite extensively what you're doing with Rare Founders. I think with Rare Founders, you actually just scratched your own itch. You wanted to get a network, but realized that there is not a very good opportunity to do that, and you decided to create that for others. And so, have you enjoyed it? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, so I left my full-time job. It will be 3 years in January. And I'm not joking, obviously I have some bad days like everyone else. But I think overall, I feel like I have been living my life, the best times of my life, since I left my full-time job. Because everything is just bloody amazing. And especially when I don't know if you were there on the demo day right at the end, when we were taking all the picture together with whoever was left. I don't know if you were there, or maybe you already left.
In the evening. At night.
Yeah. So it was, I think, around 5 p.m. And I sent a message to founders who were still there to get together.
5 p.m.
When we took a picture together. So I don't know if you might remember this.
Yes, I do.
We took a picture, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone.
Yeah, there was a speech.
And I couldn't finish a sentence. I was crying.
Yeah, I know. It was so emotional. It was so touching.
And it's even now when I'm thinking about this, I get emotional. It's one of the reasons why I was so emotional, because I've heard so many great stories from the day, from founders who met investors, who made some connections, and people who literally just got on stage, even to kind of to pitch, because again, normally you have to go through accelerator, or have to pay for 200, 500 pounds to, and people normally lie to you in terms of who you actually going to meet there. And it was just so amazing to see these results. And that's why, again, when I was doing pretty much the same what you do now and what all other founders were doing there, I didn't have there was none of the support existed. And that's why kind of I always envy all of you guys, because again, with all the support that I managed to get from other people, for example, people Chris Howard or Anthony Rose from Sit Legals, we all together can actually create something for the startup community. And I wish I had it, but at the same time, I'm glad that it didn't exist, because otherwise I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Yeah, I guess so. You've created actually a new wave of community styles. with Rare Founders, because as you said before, I mean, when I moved to London last year in August, your event was actually the first event that I attended. Oh. Yes, it was Halloween event.
Oh, I remember the picture.
Yeah.
You were someone from France.
Yeah, exactly.
Ross
Rachel,
and Ross. Yeah. And I remember your husband was there as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah, dressed as Ross and Rachel, and it was the first event, and it was, of course, new for me, and the atmosphere was great. And since then, I have been attending other events because, with all this,
of course,
yeah, promoting
networking,
networking and stuff. But I guess that one was the most crowded one. First of all, the most crowded one, and with the vibe, which is quite energetic, is always like your events. I don't know how you manage it, but in general, there is like the atmosphere is upbeat. The energy is quite high, and I really enjoy it. I enjoyed it, and it doesn't seem like quite like a network, just a network, where you're a little tense, you don't know how to talk to other people, you don't know what to do, because like everyone is there like a little tense. But there, in your events, it kind of, you feel like more relaxed, and there is also like a fun style, and people are pitching, so.
And we have water guns, and people are laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I honestly think this is kind of like, it's all obviously like happened by accident. Like I wasn't trying to create any of this in the beginning. Like in the beginning, I just wanted to do an event.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I got the microphone, I was just super nervous. And I started saying some stupid stuff, and people started laughing. And I think this was all kind of like how it all came across to all this kind of like fun style, whatever. And I didn't necessarily have any options not to talk. I'm not a public speaker, and for me it was all just something completely new. But I just remember back then I just accepted that, what it is, and I'm just gonna do it. And if people can relax, and I think this kind of like what happened. I remember, I think one of our first events, we had this founder who got on stage, and he was so nervous. He couldn't finish this 1 minute, obviously. He just couldn't finish his pitch. And he wanted to leave because he got super stressed. But I didn't let him to leave the stage. I was like, you know what? You go to the side. We're gonna go through everyone else, and we're gonna do it again.
Nice.
And we did it again, and he got nervous again. He couldn't finish. And I remember this moment where suddenly everyone just started cheering him up.
All right.
And everyone started clapping. And I was like, come on, do it. He was crying. He was all shaking. But he finished his speech, and everyone just started hugging him after this. And I remember again being in his own shoes before. This is so important, just to have this experience.
Exactly.
And the reason why I didn't let him to get off the stage, because I knew that if he would leave the stage, then he would just blame himself that he's a failure, whatever. But I was like, no, you're gonna bloody stay here until you're done, because then you will leave the stage again and with completely different feeling, that you actually overcome your fear and anxiety and whatever you had that was stopping you. And that's why when people come to especially open mic events, I do tell to everyone that they should see this event as a practice. Of course, we do have sometimes event investors coming over, but this is not kind of event for investors, and obviously it's nothing that can be guaranteed. But that's why I tell people again, just see it as a practice, just to see how you would react to big crowds and present your business in big crowds where potentially someone doesn't pay attention to you, or maybe talking on the background. And I mean, you've seen most of the founders, they do a bloody amazing job.
Exactly.
Everyone, most of them, they're bang on 1 minute, not even looking at the timer. And so yes, it's very, very interesting, very interesting.
Oh, you see, the thing, that story is actually, I guess, showing the other side of your events. Normally, when I go to events, I don't generally even know the organizers. You just go there, you have some kind of agenda, you go through the crowd. If there is someone you are interested in, or if somebody wants to meet you, you kind of meet and you scatter. But during your events, for example, I did really feel on the first one I pitched, because I wasn't going to pitch. I mean, I didn't know that there was going to be actually like somebody like pitching, but I did go on stage. It was awful, but what I said was really awful.
We have a recording, so we can
yes,
all judge later.
I know.
You should pause this video under this podcast.
Oh,
so
right, yeah, very good idea. We will do that. And it was awful, but I felt quite comfortable because there was this atmosphere that everyone was very supportive, and I guess when you are just starting out, it is very important, like to have that kind of to know that okay, you are not alone, that there are other people going through this as well, and there is like a safe space as well, that you are not going to be like hated or or hated or judged, and that's very good. And another part is that you kind of have a like personal approach to founders and to the attenders. In demo day, for example, before the demo day, there was a extensive amount of work done with us. I mean, so that we would be all informed, so that we would know everything, so that we would feel comfortable and know what's going to happen in the demo day. And I guess we've been like, I don't know, for at least a month, right, in that WhatsApp group, chatting all the time, and everybody is asking the questions, and sometimes the same questions come up all the time, and you and Freya always like answer the questions. And of course there are like master classes how to pitch, and there were practices where we went. Again, you took a lot of time to coming up to every founder and saying your feedback. You gave me great feedback and the idea of the costume as well, which then the demo day I did take all your suggestions, both costume wise and the speech wise, and I think it went quite well. Of course, not during the practice was awful, but I mean, and you went up, as I said, to as many founders as possible and say your feedback, and it is quite a lot of work, and as I said, it creates I guess very strong connection with you and the founders. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, you take a lot of time to do it.
It was hard work.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And especially like this time again, we did things a little bit differently to our first conference back in April. Like I'm trying to like iterate every time just to make things better. I didn't expect all of this WhatsApp group to take so much from me in terms of the energy and effort I put. But you know what? I'm actually glad I did, because I completely agree what you were talking about in terms of the whole connection. Like I do feel, I don't know, like even kind of like emotionally connected to like founders who pitching on the day, because people knew me. I knew quite a few people through all of these interactions, and I do believe that whatever we're creating, would be great for this not to be just kind of like one-off connection, because what I'm trying to build on, what I'm working on, it is like I do want for this to be a community, not just for myself but also for founders. So I know like you made some connections with like other founders, because reality is whatever we're going through here, all this business, it's very hard, it's very intense. Things change all the time. You go through like highs and lows, and to have this kind of like support network of people who potentially go through the same, so you can kind of like learn from them, and it's super important. And especially like what I realized, the whole networking part, where people actually do help each other without even expecting anything in return, just because people can. That's pretty much it, and it's super powerful. And again, I wish I discovered this 15 years ago when I came to the UK, but I guess it's better late than never.
And I don't think it's late. Maybe it's the right time, for you. Maybe it was the right time. Maybe you had all the necessary skills and necessary strengths and confidence just to do this, I guess. I mean, 15 years ago, maybe you were a different person, exactly. Your events, I mean, for example, the demo day, you had great sponsors, and you also somehow managed to bring great speakers. I mean, all of them were very impressive, and some of them were people that I've been like following for years and listening to their podcasts and listening to what they say, and I saw them, for example, Daniel Priestley. Yeah, I've been listening for a while, and his books are amazing. How do you manage to do? Okay, like, what do you do to bring them in, and what do you do? How do you convince them? Because it would be very useful for founders as well.
I think, it's a very good question, but I don't think there is specifically answer to this.
Okay.
Simply because, like, in terms of Dan, I know him, like, not personally, but I met him first time maybe a couple of years ago through one of the people I was working with before, and it's this person is James Church from Robot Mascot, and I think James worked with Dan, or Dan is one of the investors, so I don't remember the story, but there is some kind of connection in there. And one day Dan and his team was supposed to go to this kind of like award, and somehow it was a spare ticket, and I saw this post on LinkedIn and I just responded, and I ended up at this award dinner in Dan's team. I didn't even know who he was, and I met with his one of his colleagues, Rebecca, and who's just amazing, and we have been like sitting there laughing, and I was just open to opportunities and no expectations, and that's kind of like where I'm at then. And since then we just kind of like stayed in touch in terms of I had some ideas that I was trying to pitch to Dan through Rebecca, and again, no expectations, just more fun conversations to see if it was something that I was able to help them with, or like if they would participate in whatever I was doing. And nothing necessarily worked back then, and then it was this idea which I just pitched to them, and it worked. But there is also kind of like looking back in terms of, I don't think it's necessarily just luck by itself.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, there should be something. Yeah.
I think the fact that I'm doing a lot of things in public, on like posting a lot on like LinkedIn, not just promoting my events, but specifically about my experience, about who I am, I think it definitely helps, because people do create pictures and images about individuals, especially people who are kind of like have some kind of like social media presence. And very often these pictures are very inflated. That's why there is the saying, don't meet your whatever icons, yeah, because reality is people are not what they appear to be on like social media, interviews, books, whatever. And it can work well, but it's also kind of like can also do kind of like a negative, like work pretty much like the same big, but in most of the cases it does work kind of like more on the positive side. So I know for the fact that a lot of people think of me that I know everyone, I'm connected to everyone, that I know all the bloody investors, all founders, whatever. And it's good because it works for me, because it does help me to open up the doors and opportunities. Reality is different. I know, like, I'm connected to a lot of people. I don't necessarily know them because like have no time to get to know them very often. But this is where I think, in terms of if I wanted to give an advice to like founders who are listening, the whole social media, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, which is not very crowded yet, it's super cool thing, because it does help you to build your own brand. And then obviously, let's say when I'm reaching out to people like Rebecca and Dan, they already have also, they might not follow me necessarily, but they still see something that I post sometimes. They hear something about me from different people, and it also creates some picture in their mind. And then also when you reach out to them, you're not reaching out to them as completely someone random, so there is some kind of value they attribute to you, so it makes it easier for them to understand if they should be connected or not. But also it was another thing that I did. I saw online that Dan had been promoting his course or something that he was doing for entrepreneurs. So that's why when I reached out to Rebecca, I positioned this proposition as something that would be equally beneficial for him and for us. Obviously, for us, we wanted to bring someone with an amazing experience to actually give something back to the community, but at the same time, I knew that it would be beneficial for him, because he definitely has a product or service on whatever they do that is targeting entrepreneurs, and we can provide him with this stage and access to people who are kind of like his target audience. So that's where, when I reached out to them, obviously like it worked on time, but I specifically positioned this in the way that it's not just we need him, it was something that's what he would get out of this. And I think that's kind of like the way how I work with all of our partners and sponsors. I don't know, like I personally look at what they would get out of this partnership. And I think this is pretty much why I have such a great relationship with a lot of sponsors, where I had quite a few sponsors, like I rejected their money because I simply realized that there is nothing that we would be able to give them. There is no return on their investment, and that's why I would rather not to take their money, because again, I don't want to be blamed after for the things that didn't work out for them, especially if I know right away there is like very low chance for them to get anything out of this. So that's why, also again, going back to the whole conference, we actually didn't have many expenses, because a lot of the things we had on the day, they were provided to us by our partners. And we have a lot of partners who are just happy to support us because of overall kind of like what we do, an idea behind this, but at the same time, because everyone is also getting something out of this. And that's kind of like my secret was not necessarily a secret, but it's just kind of like how I prefer to operate.
All right, okay. But you see, the thing is that right now you have quite a lot to offer, because you have a huge community. I mean, it's, I guess, one of the biggest. It's probably in London, for example. It's quite known, and right now you have, as I said, you have a very valuable asset that you can offer and propositions. But how about at the start, for example? How did you position yourself then? And what do you think is the just if we put aside that the community that you have right now that you've built, what do you think else is matters, and besides just your, maybe this one? How did you, when you were just starting out, how did you position yourself, and what is kind of what did you do then?
Like I kind
to
of
get to here now.
Like for a while I thought it was luck that's played a big role in this, but now kind of like looking back, I don't think it was luck. It was definitely a lot of hustling and talking to people and being sincere and being honest. And I think this kind of like maybe like one of my strengths that I realized now, that I am trying to be honest with everyone, and I'm not a saint, not pretending to be, but I know that this helps. That helps because people do trust you. And if people do trust you, they want to help you. And I think in many cases, when I was also kind of like right in the beginning, when I was like talking to people, connecting with people, I don't think I was necessarily trying to like get something from them. Very often I was trying to do actually something for them, to see if I can help them with like whatever. And I think this also going back to the entire idea of networking. I think networking works if you come there with the mindset, what can I do for you, rather than what can I get from you. And again, this, in my experience, I think that's what opened quite a few doors. But all of this of course came with hard work, and also LinkedIn was definitely a big part of it, because if I was not posting about this on LinkedIn, we wouldn't get to our first nice venue, which was by Piccadilly Street, and we wouldn't get any like even interest from companies like Innovate UK, HSBC, whatever, just because if people don't see it online, how the hell they can like figure out about this anywhere else, unless you're like talking to people and people mention your name. But it feels like I've been doing a very good job with spamming people on LinkedIn everywhere. So that's why kind of like what people do know me, people do know the brand, and I think like we're still kind of like limited in terms of our presence, kind of like more to London, but we will be working on expanding this. So then hopefully next year people would want to travel from other cities to be part of the demo day and other countries. We actually had quite a few coming this year, but of course I think like for a lot of people it was probably more kind of like, oh, something is happening, experiment, because again, I'm not trying to pretend that, you know, like we are kind of like Y Combinator, people just want to be a part of, because none of whatever happened on the day and all this kind of like founders who managed to get invested, none of this can be guaranteed. But I want our brand to be at the level of something that people just, you know, like want to be a part of, and then maybe they would decide to pick our conference versus maybe, you know, like some of our, you know, like big competitors in terms of the quality that we are offering there. So that's the plan.
Oh, great! You answered actually to my last question.
All of your questions.
No, I have more. Just I guess yesterday. It was yesterday. Yeah, I saw your post about your previous startup. It was good.
Fugi.
Oh, Fugi. Yeah, Fugi. Right. So tell me about that. How did it go? How long you worked on it?
I mean, I was working
there
on this
was
for
something
a few
about
years.
MVP, right?
Yeah. I was working on this one for a few years because initially it was a different completely idea. My previous business was, before COVID, I was working on creating, so it was called Retreats Map. Idea was to have something like Google Map, where you have different retreats happening globally, and you can kind of like see this on the map, use filters, zoom in, location, whatever, kind of like a marketplace. And then the COVID happened, and we pivoted into online, because again, that was going on. This is how the whole Fuging was born. And idea was to have a marketplace that would connect individual wellness professionals with individuals who potentially want to do something like super specific at the time it's available, at the language that they are comfortable to speak in. I don't know, maybe you want to do kickboxing classes 6 a.m. every Monday, and you wanted this to be done in Spanish because that's a language that maybe you're either learning or prefer to kind of like use. And didn't work out. Like I think altogether I spent on this right from the beginning with like initial idea that was a little bit different, maybe like 3 years. And eventually last year I kind of like decided to give up, and that's when I decided to focus on the community side. Because the whole thing I started doing with the community, the whole idea, like the reason why I did, because I want to meet investors. And I wasn't planning for this to turn into anything or like to grow whatever. My only goal was I bring people together, I know who the investors are. If I know what they invest in, I can reach out to them directly and have a conversation. And but then again, just my business didn't necessarily go anywhere. The market has changed quite a bit, and we had some traction, and maybe if we did this quicker, sooner, maybe I would have better chances of raising investments the year before that. But like things happened the way they happened, the market, again, like investors had very high requirements, and that's why when we started fundraising last summer, this was my kind of like last attempt, and I just realized that we just don't have enough for investors, and I also just like run out of steam of doing this stuff. And kind of like decided to give it up. But at the same time, again, if this did not happen, I would not be, like where I am today. So I think it's all part of the journey, great experience. Like we're hosting this event tomorrow, which is going to be late for the podcast, but specifically talking, not tomorrow, like next week, specifically talking about MVP. Because for me personally, I now have a completely different understanding what minimum viable product actually is, because I spent money, I spent time working on this, when realistically, like if you're smart, I think like more experienced, not smart, if you're more experienced, you can do things much quicker in terms of validating this idea using something very, very basic. You don't have to build any products. Like for example, Daniel was in his podcast with Stephen Bartlett. He was talking about using a wait list. And it's
that's
so
what we're
smart.
doing.
And that's kind of like this is an idea of MVP. How you can actually get some kind of validation before you actually spend any time and money. And again, now going through all of this, it took me like a few years. I spent about like £50,000 on building my previous product.
Really?
And again, great experience. And there's a reason why again we're running this event, just hopefully convince some of the founders in the room that they should not be going this way. Again, it all depends on your sector, whatever, but I think with a lot of businesses like B2C, B2B SaaS, you don't necessarily need to build things.
Yeah.
And it's also like change of
in
mentality.
order to get the market validation, you
Exactly.
don't necessarily need to build.
Exactly. But even if you need to build things,
Yeah.
you can still do this without actually building things.
Yeah.
I don't know, like using things like WhatsApp groups,
Yeah,
like
right.
Google Forms, whatever things that are available. And again, just to get the validation, because then when you go to investors and they see that it's not just your idea, that
Yeah,
based on
right.
your experience, you actually did some work and you can prove that there is something in there, then that's what investors actually give money for. And again, I know this now, I didn't know this before. And I'm trying to like preach all of the things that I learned to founders, but I also understand that like I was this founder myself, and all this information is available everywhere. You go to Y Combinator, they have like a bunch of articles, videos talking
Yeah.
about the same things.
Yeah.
But as a founder, especially when you're doing this the first time, you are determined, you're stubborn, you believe in your ideas, you think that you're special, you think that no one understands this industry or the sector or the product better than you do, because everyone's idiots and you're the only one just like, you know, like who can get it. Reality is, in most of the cases, that's not the case. Like, I don't know, like there is very small chance that you actually right. Otherwise, like it has been done a million times. And there are reasons why things, I don't know, like work the way they work. And that's why I think you can't necessarily change the mentality of founders who are especially doing this the first time, because they need to go on, they need to make these mistakes in order to learn.
Probably.
Because if I just took this information from someone, how would I know that this information was right?
Of course.
Because again, now I know.
Now you
because
know
I've done
because
it.
you've lived it.
And very often by doing these mistakes, you discovering something.
Yeah.
Because just because realistically, if something did not work for majority, there is actually a chance that it might work for you. Just because I know, like you don't even know it doesn't work. Like I met quite a few founders at our events who, against all the odds, managed to like achieve something big, just because they didn't know that the things were not supposed to be done a certain way. They just didn't know, they just did it and it just worked. So that's why you kind of like you do need to try, you do need to listen to things. You can't obviously like take everything for what it is, but kind of like I think if I speak about things that I learned, maybe there is like a couple of people who would learn on this advice and just like avoid making my mistakes. But maybe they need to make these mistakes to learn. I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's going great, but we're running out of time a little bit. But I have a very short rubric that I call Behind the Biz, just to know you, not the business, but know you better. It's very quick. So, what do you like the most about London?
What do I like? That's a difficult question. What do I like the most about London?
Yeah.
No, there is one thing I like the most about London. I think the fact that people are approachable here. I don't know, like I lived 1 year in Moscow before I came here.
Okay.
And in Moscow, again, my personal experience, if you have a little bit of a name, you kind of like people are just like too cool for you to talk to, too important, whatever. Here, I remember just before, like with one of my previous companies, I need to talk to Chichvark, and just because I was working for the company that I had a business I thought he might be interested in because of his previous experience. And I just went to his wine store and I just said, I need to talk to him. He wasn't available. They took my phone number. He literally called me within half an hour.
Really?
And we spoke about this idea. He wasn't interested, but I remember I was like, that's just so cool, because I know that if this was happening in Moscow, there is no chance I would be able to get through.
Yeah, okay, yeah, now I understand.
And that's I think that's what's happened to me actually like so many times. For example, the same like Daniel.
Yeah.
There you have people who are connected to people who can easily make an introduction if it's relevant. And like I'm, for example, now have an idea to bring Richard Branson to next demo day. Again, if it works out. I know he's a very busy man, whatever.
I really hope it works out.
You would be surprised. We actually one of the founders who was pitching on the day. He was working with someone who was, I think, like either his assistant or whatever, but and he, like there are like you can make this
You
connection.
can make the connection, huh?
And that's why, I don't know, this I think what is cool about specifically London, where you are, I don't know, like few handshakes away from people you need to talk to. And I think if you're a genuine person, and people will be happy to help you. So
It's good to know, really good to know. So what is one food that you could always eat?
I eat all the food.
All the food?
Yeah, not picky,
Okay,
as
but-
long as it's edible.
All right, but what if you had to eat only one thing, for example?
Only one thing.
Yeah, you are stuck with one thing.
And then it would kill me. So if it, I was actually like if it's ice cream, I would eat it, but then it would kill me
Yeah,
because
of
of like
course.
diabetes. So I don't know.
Okay, so you are
Okay,
sweet
one
tooth.
thing. Okay,
All right.
yeah, I'm definitely sweet tooth, but I'm also have a tooth for Italian pizza.
Oh,
But real Italian pizza.
Real Italian
kind
pizza,
of like I don't know, like
alright.
from like like north of Italy by Lake Como, where it doesn't matter where you go, the pizza is just amazing.
okay, great. So what is one activity that helps you unwind and recharge?
I do meditations.
Okay, good.
But my own kind of like invention of meditations.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of like I did quite a few. So I did ayahuasca a few times, and kind of
Okay.
like this
So how
brought
did
me
you-
to this
how-
experience. Oh, this complete. Okay, I don't think you're gonna have enough time
Okay, but
for this
so you
podcast.
did
But
it, yeah.
my meditations now, if I need, they're kind of like 1 hour, where you just get in. It's almost like another ayahuasca experience.
So if it is 1 hour, you don't do it daily? Or do
No,
you-
no. I mean, like I do it
Oh, okay.
weekly,
All
or
right,
when I
yeah.
feel stressed,
Oh, okay, okay.
or when I feel like I'm like really, I don't know, like getting into like depression level, whatever, and
see. So it
literally
helps.
just like like one meditation. I'm sometimes like if I need to do like a recharge, I can do like 20 minutes, but it's just amazing what your mind can do, because literally you just get out and you of this meditation and you feel completely recharged, like you just came back from holidays. But it's
Wow.
only started happening after the whole ayahuasca experience. Like I didn't
Okay,
have
I
this
see.
experience before.
Maybe you could start something, you know, in the community. You could start introduction to
Oh,
this
it's-
kind of things, you know.
We tried
Really?
to launch a couple of years ago this meditation, and I ended up meditating weekly with one of my friends. We have been doing this for a couple of years now, every week on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And because he was the only person who actually signed up, and we just started doing this, and now it's pretty much us doing this kind of like every single weekend, where it's like we will just have a call, talk about life, and then we will meditate for 20 minutes. So that's why kind of like I tried it, but no one cared apart from my
Really?
friend here. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe I
maybe-
should try it again.
but maybe you should try it again. Yeah, maybe you should. Okay, I really, because it sounds interesting. So next, if you had to read only one book for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One book for the rest of my life. So I don't read books, I listen to books.
Okay. all
Like
right,
I very
what- you can
quickly
listen.
I very quickly realized, I mean like it took me a while actually to realize that I can't read books. I fall asleep. I tried many things, and then when I discovered Audible, I think I listened for I maybe listened to like 100 books a year.
Nice.
I
It's
listen
a
at
lot.
double speed, and everything from like Tolstoy.
Oh.
I literally listened all his books.
Okay.
Like all his books, he's bloody genius.
Oh, they
And
are really-
actually, like if I had to pick one book,
Yeah.
I probably would go for Anna Karenina.
Anna Karenina. I love
But
the
for
book.
different reason. I think, like I personally think this book is kind of like not specifically about I don't know, like
Love.
woman who cheated, whatever. I think again, this is me after ayahuasca, just looking at
Yeah.
things differently. I remember when I read this book, I was just so shocked that someone could just write something like this about like human mind and thoughts, whatever, all of this stuff. And it's, I don't know if it's the same in English when you in terms of translation, but in Russian is super deep and super powerful.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Tolstoy was doing something. Like I'm not joking, because I mean he was obviously genius, because that's why
Yes.
I read all of his books, and I mean you like normal human beings cannot think like this without some kind of like like experience, like literally they just can't. But obviously like his mind worked differently, so I think this probably would be one book just because it's just so good.
Okay, yeah, and I do agree. It is amazing. So, what would you say is one trait, like one characteristic of yours that played the biggest role in your success?
One characteristic, I like asking questions,
Okay.
especially when I don't understand things. And I think this is why, like these days, like I often talk about myself because like events, people asking me questions, whatever, and I think it like I now maybe like do come across like I just talk about myself all the time. But realistically, when I'm in the environment where I actually don't know people, I do prefer to ask questions to get to know them better. And this would just I think like help me also like to make all my connections, because my brain works in the way that I do through like asking questions, building the story in my head. I can meet you 5-6 years from now and recall the conversation we had today and specific details. I might not remember the name. This is kind of like my brain is very bad with names, but in terms of faces and and stories behind it, and that's why sometimes, like even at our events, I would start talking to someone, and then I will be like, oh, like and I can even remember like the month, the date, like not the date specifically, and I think this only happens because of me, like asking questions. I kind of like do miss it these days.
Okay.
Just because again, normally it's the other way around now with like people coming to my events, whatever, it's like people asking me questions, but I do miss talking to people when again it's actually like me trying to like learn their story. So that's why like podcast is a good thing. Maybe I should also try.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, well, a lot of ideas. All right. So then the last one. What is one critical lesson you've taken away from your entrepreneurial experience or any prior experience?
Critical lesson. I think critical lesson is probably about like failing and just not being ashamed of failing. Just because realistically, the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn. And I think also going back to my previous business, it definitely took me a while to accept that it just wasn't working out. And again, like things happen for a reason. Again, like I'm here right now because I went through this experience, but I wish I could learn. I think even now I'm still learning to like spot these things that maybe don't necessarily work. Just to accept that, okay, you know what, it's just like, it doesn't work. Like fail, learn, pivot, change something, and just like do it all over again. And I think this is like very powerful when just again like everyone like all across all social media, like things changed over the last couple of years. People started talking more about their like bad experiences, failures, but overall there is still this like narrative about like success that everyone used to tell their success story, but success is built on these failures. And that's why I think that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people at my events do relate to me, because I speak about this a lot. I'm not afraid to like fail with my like stupid jokes on my like open mic, because again, this is normal. Everyone is going through this, and I think this just builds this connection. And because when people look at someone who is just like slightly ahead of them, and they see that, oh, you know what, it's normal, and I think it just makes them feel better. They make them more comfortable and confident, and they can get further with this.
So. They don't get discouraged. Okay, well, amazing, great answer. Thank you so much. Okay, we're done. We had Vasily, a founder of Rare Founders community. Follow him on LinkedIn. He shares a lot of great stories. And follow Rare Founders, attend his events. You are not going to regret it, I'm telling you. I had that, You are going to be surprised.
Gonna be surprised with the water guns especially.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was good.
Thank you very much. We're done.